Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Praskacha Desatarane Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Nitai Gauranga Nitai Gauranga Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnanam Jnanashalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Haribo. So we're reading Madhya Lila, chapter 10, text. The last verse was 14, so we will start here. Jaishnav, would you like to read the verse, text 14, the Sanskrit? Madhya Lila, chapter 10, text 14. Madhya Lila, chapter 10, text 14. Text 14. Raja kahe? Okay, the mic's not working. Okay.
Raja kahe tandra tome yaite kene dile.
Okay, can you repeat? Devotees? Okay, that's all right. There's no board up.
પાયાપરી યત્ન કરી કેને ન રખીલે.
Upon hearing this, the king replied, "Why did you allow him to leave? Why didn't you fall at his lotus feet and keep him here?" Okay, Jaishnav.
ભટ્ટાચાર્ય કહે તેનો સ્વયં ઈશ્વર સંતત્ર સાક્ષાત શ્રી કૃષ્ણ તેનો નહિ પરતંત્ર.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied, "Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself and is completely independent. Being Lord Krishna himself, he is not dependent on anyone." Text 16.
તથાપિ રખીતે તાંદ્રે બહુ યત્ન કૈલું ઈશ્વરેર સ્વતંત્ર ઈચ્છા રખીતે નરીલું.
Still, I endeavored very hard to keep him here, but because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and completely independent, I was not successful. Text 17.
રાજા કહે ભટ્ટ તમે વિઘ્ન શિરોમણી તમે તાને કૃષ્ણ કહતા તે સત્યમણી.
The king said, "Bhattacharya, you are the most learned and experienced person I know. Therefore, when you address Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Lord Krishna, I accept this as the truth." Purport. This is the way to advance in spiritual science. One must accept the words of an acharya, a bona fide spiritual master, to clear the path for spiritual advancement. This is the secret of success. However, one's guide must be a spiritual master who is actually an unalloyed devotee, strictly following the instructions of the previous acharya without deviation. Whatever the spiritual master says must be accepted by the disciple. Only then is success certain. This is the Vedic system. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a Brahmana and a realized soul, whereas Pracha Praruja was a Kshatriya. Kshatriya kings used to obey very faithfully the orders of learned Brahmanas and saintly persons, and in this way they would rule their country. Similarly, Vaishyas used to follow the king's orders, and the Sudras used to live cooperatively, performing their respective duties. Consequently, society was peaceful, and people were able to discharge the duties of Krishna consciousness. Thus, they were happy in this life and able to return home, back to Godhead. Text 18. Vaishnav. Oh, thanks, yeah.
પુનરપી હંતાન્દ્ર હૈલે આગમના એક પર દીકી કરી સફલ નયના.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned again, I wished to see him just once in order to make my eyes perfect.
ભટ્ટાચાર્ય કહે તેનો આશીર્વાદ અલ્પકાલે રહીતે તંદ્ર એક સ્થાન ચહિયા વિરલે.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied, "His Holiness Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will return very soon. I wish to have a nice place ready for him, a place solitary and peaceful." Jaishnav.
ઠાકોરેરા નિકટાર હઈ બેન જને એ માતા નિલયા કરી દે હઈ સ્થાને.
Lord Chaitanya's residence should be very secluded and also near the temple of Jagannath. Please consider this proposal and give me a nice place for him. Text 21.
રાજા કહે આઈચે કાશે મિશ્રા ભાવના ઠાકોરેરા નિકટાયા પરમાન જના.
The king replied, "Kashi Mishra's house is exactly what you require. It is near the temple and it is very secluded, calm, and quiet. Text 22.
एथा काहि राजे रहे उत्कंठित तहाना भट्टाचार्य काशी मिश्र कहेला आइसिया.
After saying this, the king became very anxious for the Lord to return. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then went to Kashi Mishra to convey the king's desire.
काशी मिश्र कहे अमे भदा भाग्यवाना मोर गृहे प्रभु पादे रहा विवावस्थाना.
When Kashi Mishra heard the proposal, he said, I am very fortunate that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord of all Prabhus, will stay at my home. Purport. Shingarupa Prabhu? I need another book under here so that could be a little higher so that I can read it better, if that's okay. Like another book under here. When Kashi Mishra heard the proposal, he said, I am very fortunate that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord of all Prabhus, will stay at my home. Purport. In this verse, the word Prabhupada, referring to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is significant. Regarding this, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami, oh, thank you. Perfect, yeah. Except I can't see the light, though. Can the light go up? Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Regarding this, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami, Prabhupada, comments, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. Sri Krishna and all His servants address Him as Prabhupada. This means that there are many Prabhus taking shelter under His lotus feet. The pure Vaishnava is addressed as Prabhu, and this address is an etiquette observed between Vaishnavas. When many Prabhus remain under the shelter of the lotus feet of another Prabhu, the address Prabhupada is given. Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Advaita Prabhu are also addressed as Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Advaita Prabhu, and Sri Nityananda Prabhu are all Vishnu Tattva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu. Therefore, all living entities are under their lotus feet. Lord Vishnu is the eternal Lord of everyone, and the representative of Lord Vishnu is the Lord's confidential servant. Such a person acts as the spiritual master for neophyte Vaishnavas. Therefore, the spiritual master is as respectable as Sri Krishna Chaitanya or Lord Vishnu himself. For this reason, the spiritual master is addressed as Om Vishnupad or Prabhupada. The Acharya, the spiritual master, is generally respected by others as Sripada, and the initiated Vaishnavas are addressed as Prabhu. Prabhu, Prabhupada, and Vishnupad are described in revealed scriptures, like Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Chaitanya Bhagavat. In this regard, these scriptures present evidence accepted by unalloyed devotees. So we'll try to make a comment about Srila Prabhupada's request that all the devotees call each other Prabhu, man, woman, child, that Prabhu is a term of reverence, and that they are at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. And then Srila Prabhupada explains the title Prabhupada. So his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, was called Prabhupada, as was his spiritual master, and so forth in the disciplic succession of the Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So when Srila Prabhupada was teaching his devotees in San Francisco, they were calling him Swamiji, because they knew he was a Swami and he was from India, and they knew that Ji was a term of affection, so they called him Swamiji. And then one day, it was Govinda Dasi and her husband, Gorsunda, they said, Swamiji, should we be calling you something else besides Swamiji? And so Prabhupada looked down and he said, I am the servant of my spiritual master. You may call me Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada was acting out of pure devotional service. He was explaining the disciplic succession, and also he was well aware of his service, that his whole lifetime was a lifetime in preparation to guide the fallen spirit souls back home, back to Godhead. And for that we need our Prabhupada. So we often refer to Prabhupada as our Prabhupada, because there are many Srila Prabhupads. So I'll continue the purport. The Prakrita Sahajas are not even worthy of being called Vaishnavas. They think that only caste Goswamis should be called Prabhupada. Such ignorant Sahajas call themselves Vaishnava Das Anudas, which means the servant of the Vaishnavas. However, they are opposed to addressing a pure Vaishnava as Prabhupada. In other words, they are envious of a bona fide spiritual master who is addressed as Prabhupada. And they commit offenses by considering a bona fide spiritual master an ordinary human being or a member of a certain caste. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur describes such sahajas as most unfortunate. Because of their misconceptions, they fall into a hellish condition. Text 24. Vaishnav, Prabhu? Text 24.
हे माता पुरुषोत्तम वासी यथा जना प्रभु के मिलिते शबरा उतंकित मना.
Translation. Thus all the residents of Jagannath Puri, which is also known as Purushottam, were very anxious to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again. Text 25.
सर्वलोकेरा उत्कंठा यपे अत्यंत बदिला महाप्रभु दक्षिण है ते तबिन है आइला.
While all the residents of Jagannath Puri were thus anxious, the Lord returned from South India. Text 26.
शुनियानंदिता हैला शबकारा माना सबे आसे सर्वभौमे कैला निवेदना.
Hearing of the Lord's return, everyone became very happy, and they all went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and spoke to him as follows. Text 27.
प्रभु रसहित आमा सफर करा हमीराना तुम्हारा प्रसाद पाए प्रभु रचरना.
Please arrange our meeting with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is only by your mercy that we can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Text 28.
भट्टाचार्य काहे करी कही काशी मिश्र घरे प्रभु याई बिना ताहन मिलब भसा भरे.
The Bhattacharya replied to the people, tomorrow the Lord will be at the house of Kashi Mishra. I shall arrange for you all to meet him. So here Lord Chaitanya has returned, and the devotees are just madly attached to his lotus feet because he is their leader. He is the Lord. And so hearing news of the Lord's return was making them so happy. And so immediately the senior Vaishnavas, like Bhattacharya, he gathered the people and he replied to them, "Tomorrow the Lord will be at the house of Kashi Mishra. I shall arrange for you all to meet him." So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was one of the leaders, personally groomed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because as we read previously, that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was the spiritual master of the demigods. Who's the spiritual master of the demigods? Brihaspati. So he's a great devotee, and Lord Chaitanya is cultivating his devotion because somehow or other he had become an atheist and he had become an impersonalist. So by the association of Lord Chaitanya, he became a pure Vaishnava, and now he's leading all the people. The people are looking to him because they want their leader. They want someone to guide them to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They know they can't go directly, but Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was very near and dear to Lord Chaitanya. So text 29.
आरदिन महाप्रभु भट्टाचार्य संगे जगन्नाथ दर्शन कैले महारंगे.
The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived and went with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya with great enthusiasm to see the temple of Lord Jagannath. Text 30.
महाप्रसाद दिया तहन मिलिला सेवा का गण महाप्रभु सभा कर कैला लिंगना.
All the servants of Lord Jagannath delivered remnants of the Lord's food to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In return, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced them all. So here we have Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arriving, and he's immediately served the Maha Prasadam of Lord Jagannath. And as usual, he is always in ecstatic love for the Lord. And he's always dancing, chanting. He's embracing the devotees because he's so happy to see them. They're happy to see him, and he's happy to see them. Text 31, Vaishnav.
दर्शन करी महाप्रभु चलीला बाहिरे भट्टाचार्य आनिला तान्रे काशी मिश्र घरे.
After seeing Lord Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left the temple. Bhattacharya then took him to the house of Kashi Mishra. Text 32.
काशी मिश्र सिपदिला प्रभु चरणे गृह सहित आत्म तान्रे कैला निवेदने.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at his house, Kashi Mishra immediately fell down at his lotus feet and surrendered himself and all his possessions.
प्रभु चतुर्भुजा मूर्ति तान्रे दे कैला आत्मा साता करी तारे आलिंगन कैला.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then showed Kashi Mishra his four-armed form. Then, accepting him for his service, the Lord embraced him. So here Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided that he wanted to show Kashi Mishra his four-armed form, just to bless him, just to appreciate him, just to let him know that here's your Lord and Master, and here's my Vishnu form. And the Prabhupada says here that, well, Krishnadas Kaviraj says that the Lord accepted him for his service. So the Lord sees and appreciates the service of everyone. When we come in front of the deities and we pray, the Lord is accepting our service. He's happy to see us. The other day, a little girl came to the temple with her parents. And she was very small. I was thinking maybe she's 5 or maybe 4. And so then we were talking, and she came over, and I said, "What's your name?" And she goes, "Hari Shri." I said, "That's a beautiful name. That's the name for the goddess of Lakshmi." She goes, "Yes." And I said, "How old are you?" 4. So we were talking, and her parents were sitting over there, and she was talking. And then I asked her, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? This is the influence of Srila Prabhupada on all these children. We see all these children coming all the time with their parents, and they come and pray to the deity, and they're very advanced souls. So I asked the little girl, what do you want to be when you grow up? Her eyes went up. If you talk to someone and their eyes go up, it means they're searching their memory. So right away, she said, a pilot. She's like this big, and she's 4 years old, and she wants to be a pilot. And I said to her, wow. I said, well, did you talk to Krishna about it? What did Krishna say? She said, he said yes. So, and then interestingly enough, one of the other devotees, I was talking to them. They're a teenager. They're 14 or maybe 15. And I said to her, we were talking, and I said to her, what do you want to be when you grow up? She said, a pilot. I thought, oh my goodness. All these pilots are, landing in Kalachandji Dome. So it was very lovely and I was immediately feeling this is the influence of Srila Prabhupada and Radha Kalachandji, that these little tiny Vaishnavas have their life planned. They're smart. They know what they want to do. They're preparing for it. They're super cool kids, and they're 4 years old. Okay, so that was pretty cool. Okay. So Lord Chaitanya has just shown Kashi Mishra his four-armed form. Text 34, Jai Shri.
Tabe Mahaprabhu tahan vasila asane, chori ke vasila nityananda dedi bhaktagane.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next sat down at the place prepared for him. And all the devotees headed by Lord Nityananda Prabhu surrounded him. Text 35.
Sukhi haila dekhi Prabhu vasara samsthana, ye vasaya haya Prabhu ra sarva samadhana.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to see his residential quarters, in which all his necessities were taken care of. Text 36.
Sarvabhauma kahe Prabhu yogya tomar vasa, tumi angikara kar Kashi Mishra rasa.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, this place is just befitting you. Please accept it. It is the hope of Kashi Mishra that you do. So when the Lord travels on his preaching tour, the devotees make sure that he has every need met. A place to bathe, a nice place to rest, nice prasadam, and they're all happy taking care of him, and the Lord Chaitanya is happy receiving their kindness. Text 37.
Prabhu kahe deha toma sabha kara, ye tumi kaha se samatama.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, my body belongs to all of you. Therefore, I agree to whatever you say. Text 38.
Tabe sarvabhauma prabhura dakshine pashvevasi, milaite lagela sabha purushottama vasi.
Translation. After this, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, sitting at the right hand of the Lord, began to introduce all the inhabitants of Purushottam, Jagannath Puri. So here we have, again, our leader, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Brihaspati Prabhu, and he's sitting at the right hand of the Lord. So he's the right-hand man of Lord Chaitanya. And what's he doing? He's introducing every person that lives in Purushottam Kshetra. He knows all their names, their service, where they live, everything. He knows their inner heart. So he's addressing each Prabhu to Lord Chaitanya. So this is the value and importance. I remember when Srila Prabhupada came to visit here, he came in 1974, 1975, and there was devotees surrounding him, And as Prabhupada was up in Prabhupada's quarters, and Mahasini Prabhuji, she had made cookies that were this big. She made rasgullas that were this big, and they were dunked in a huge bucket of syrup, rasgulla syrup. So as each person came to meet Srila Prabhupada, they introduced them. They said their name, where they're from, and that they were attending the Gurukula, what grade they were in. So then Srila Prabhupada would reach into the bucket. The bucket was at his right hand. So the rasgullas were the right hand prabhus that Prabhupada was going to serve the devotees. So he would dip his hands in the bucket, and he would lift it up and squeeze it. And all this sugar juice was coming out. And then he would put it in the hands of the child. There was no like little paper. There wasn't even wax paper, because we used to eat off of wax paper. But so they didn't have little cups for them to catch the juice. So there was there was rasgulla juice everywhere. On the kids' hands, on their clothes, on their mouth, on the floor, everywhere there was rasgulla juice. So, and everyone was enjoying it. And Prabhupada had his long sleeve kurta. And even his long sleeve kurta was full of rasgulla juice. And we used to joke with Mahasini that we should give Mahasini Prabhuji unlimited butter, flour, ghee, and paneer, so that she could just make sweets all the time, all day, just every day. Because every day she had a different sweet for Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada would pass them out to all the kiddies, all the children. And so a couple of the kids would get 2 rasgullas. And then Prabhupada would touch their head. So they had rasgullas in their hands and rasgulla juice on their head. And it was a party. And the kids were so small. And now I see them all grown up. And I thought they got such mercy from Srila Prabhupada. Text 39. Jaishnav? Prabhu?
हे सब लोक का प्रभु वैसे लीला चाले उत्कंठित हन जे सभी तुम मिली बारे.
Translation. The Bhattacharya said, "My dear Lord, all these people who are residents of Nilachala, Jagannath Puri, have been very anxious to meet you."
दृष्टिता चाटक याचे कर हाहाकार तची सब सबे कर अंगीकार.
In your absence, all these people have been exactly like the thirsty chataka birds, crying in disappointment. Kindly accept them. So Srila Prabhupada often referred to the chataka birds, because they have a specific characteristics that they fly high in the sky and they only want to drink rainwater from the clouds. So they will wait to get this special rainwater. And so Prabhupada's comparing it to the thirsty chakora birds. When you're thirsty, you really love to have water. So these birds wanted this special water. So, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he first introduced. Okay, go ahead.
जगन्नाथ सेवकाई नाम जनार्दन अनवसरे करी प्रभुरा श्रीअंग सेवना.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya first introduced Janardan, saying, "Here's Janardan, servant of Lord Jagannath. He renders service to the Lord when it is time to renovate his transcendental body." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. During Anavasara, after the Syan Yatra ceremony, Lord Jagannath is absent from the temple for how many days? 15 days, so he can be renovated. This occurs annually. Janardhan, who is here being introduced to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was rendering this service at the time. The renovation of Lord Jagannath is also known as Nava Yovana, which indicates that the Jagannath deity is being fully restored to youth. So I have a friend, and she has a daughter named Nava Yovana. Text 42.
कृष्णदास नामये सुवर्ण वित्रधारी श्री की महति नामाये लिखनाधिकारी.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya continued, "This is Krishnadas, who carries a golden cane, and here is Sikhi Mahiti, who is in charge of writing." Purport: the person in charge of writing is also called Dulakana. Can you say that word, Vaishnav, please?
Devulu Karana Pada Prapta Karmachari.
Great. Perfect. He is employed especially to write a calendar called Matala Panji. Text 43.
Mishra inha Vaishnava Pradhana Jagannathe Ramaha Soyara inna Dasanama.
This is Pradyumna Mishra, who is the chief of all Vaishnavas. He is a great servitor of Jagannath, and his name is Das. Purport: in Orissa, most of the Brahmins have the title Das. Generally, it is understood that the word Das refers to those other than the Brahmanas. But in Orissa, the Brahmins use the Das title. This is confirmed by Kulibhata. Actually, everyone is Das because everyone is a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In that sense, the bona fide master, the bona fide Brahmanas, has first claim to the appellation Das. Therefore, in this case, the designation Das is not incompatible. Text 44. Jaishnav? Go ahead, Kunti. Go ahead. This is Murari Mahiti, the brother of Sikhi Mahiti. He is nothing other than your lotus feet. So we have a disciple of Prabhupada. His name is Sikhi Mahiti. And he's very enthusiastic. And he's one of those kind of persons who, every time he talks, he'll laugh. He'll start laughing. He's a very jolly fellow. Text 45.
Chandaneshwara Simheshwara Murare Brahmana Vishnudasa Inhadhyayi Tomaracharana.
Here are Chandaneshwar, Simheswara, Murari Brahmana, and Vishnu Das. They are all constantly engaged in meditating on your lotus feet. So here, Srila Prabhupada is, he's giving us his purport. The Bhattacharya is introducing one Vaishnava after the other. We have a disciple of Bhakti Chiruswami. His name is Chandaneshwara. And he used to work in the energy bar company. He and his godbrother started a company. He put a lot of money in that company. And it was a very successful business. They sold all kinds of nutrition bars. And Chandaneshwar, his wife is Madri, and whenever they would go to the retreats of Bhakti Chiruswami, they were always staying late up in the night, cleaning, washing pots, just making sure everything was organized for the next day. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is saying here that they're all constantly engaged in meditating on your lotus feet. So he's telling Lord Chaitanya that they're doing their service and they're always thinking of your lotus feet. Text 46. Anybody? This is Paramananda Puri. This is Paramananda Praharaja, who is also known as Mahapatra. He is very, very intelligent. Purport. Praharaja is a designation given to brahmanas who represent the king when the throne is vacant. In Orissa, between the time of the king's death and the enthronement of another king, a representative must sit on the throne. This representative is called Praharaja. The Praharaja is generally selected from a family of priests close to the king. During the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Praharaja was Paramananda Praharaja. Text 47.
Isaba Vaishnava Kshetra Bhujana Hikanta Bhavya Chinti Sabi Tumara Charana.
All these pure devotees serve as ornaments to Jagannath Puri. They are always undeviatingly meditating upon your lotus feet. So here Srila Prabhupada is explaining more of the system, how the king, when the king somehow was no longer in power, what? Oh, he's making noises, Mike. Thought I was. So the Praharaja is generally selected from a family of priests close to the king, because the citizens always needed guidance. So today we're having a revolution called No Kings, because they object to our present President of the United States acting like a king instead of acting like, it's a democracy. So here, Prabhupada is explaining that actually when there's a good king, the people are happy and they celebrate. So in this day and age of democracy, Prabhupada called it demon crazy democracy, there's a huge upheaval because there's an imbalance. I mean, everyone has good qualities and everyone has, we struggle. So here Prabhupada is explaining the proper government. And the proper government at that time was that a king was ruling. And if the king was not able to rule, then these family priests would take over and fill in for the king. And they were considered very, very intelligent because they understood the pulse beat of the society. They understood each person. They ruled in such a way that the residents were like their children. So they were very careful and kind to them. Okay, so text 48. Go ahead, Quinty. After this introduction, everyone fell to the ground like rods. Being very merciful upon them all, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced each and every one of them. So here, the culture, what time is it? I can't see the watch. 8:20, okay. So Prabhupada is explaining Then everyone offered their dandavats to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya, being very merciful to them, he embraced them. Each and every one of them he embraced. Text 49.
Hena kaile yaila thata bhavanandaraya Chariputra sange pade Mahaprabhu rapaya.
At this time, Bhavananda Roy appeared with his 4 sons, and all of them fell down at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Bhavananda Roy had 5 sons, one of whom was the exalted personality known as Ramananda Roy. Bhavananda Roy first met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after his return from South India. At that time, Ramananda Roy was still serving at his government post. Therefore, when Bhavananda Roy went to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went with his other 4 sons. They were named Vaninath, Gopinath, Kalanidhi, and Sudhanidhi. A description of Bhavananda Roy and his 5 sons is given in the Adi Leela 10.133.
Sarvabhauma kahi Raya Bhavananda Inhara Prathama Putra Raja Ramananda.
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya continued, this is Bhavananda Roy, the father of Sri Ramananda Roy, who is his first son. Text 51. Tabe Mahaprabhu Tanre Kaila Aligana Sutikari Kahe Ramananda Vivarana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Bhavananda Roy and with great respect spoke of his son Ramananda Roy. Text 52.
Ramananda hina ratna yanhara tanaya tanhara mahima luki kahanaya.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu honored Bhavananda Roy by saying, the glories of a person who has a jewel of a son, like Ramananda Roy, cannot be described within this mortal world. Vaishnav.
Sakshat Pandu tumi tomara patni kunti pancha pandava tomara pancha putra mahamati.
You are Maharaj Pandu himself, and your wife is Kunti Devi herself. All your highly intellectual sons are representatives of the 5 Pandavas. So here we're learning that Bhavananda Roy was Maharaj Pandu, and his wife was Kunti Devi. And we have a devotee in our temple. Her name is Kunti Devi. She's a very lovely devotee. She's always serving, and she's always meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord. Jai Kunti Devi. All your highly intellectual sons are representatives of the 5 Pandavas. Text 54.
Raya kahe tami shudra vishayi adhama tabu tumi sarvasha ye Ishwar lakshana.
After hearing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's praise, Bhavananda Roy submitted, quote, I am in the 4th class of the social order, and I engage in mundane affairs. Although I am very fallen, you have still touched us. This is proof that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 5:18, Vidya Vinaya Sampane Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Sapakecha Pandita Samadarshana. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater, outcast. Those who are highly advanced in spiritual understanding do not care about a person's material condition. A spiritually advanced person sees the spiritual identity of every living being, and consequently he makes no distinction between a learned Brahmana, a dog, a chandala, or anyone else. He is not influenced by the material body, but sees the person's spiritual identity. Consequently, Bhavananda Roy appreciated Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's statement, which showed that the Lord did not consider the social position of Bhavananda Roy, who belonged to the Sudra caste, engaged in mundane activities. Rather, the Lord considered the spiritual position of Bhavananda Roy, Ramananda Roy, and his brothers. The servant of the Lord is also similarly inclined. He gives shelter to any person, any living entity, regardless of whether one belongs to a Brahmin family or is a Chandal. The spiritual master reclaims all people and encourages everyone in spiritual life. By taking shelter of such a devotee, one can make his life successful, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 2:4-18. Kirata hunadra pulinda pulkasa abira sumba yavana kashadayaha yene yachapapa yad apasrisraya sudyanti tasmai Prabha Vishnave Namaha. Kirata, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasha, Abira, Sumba, Yavana, and the Kasha races, and even others who are addicted to sinful acts, can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord due to his being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto you, unto him. Whoever takes shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his pure devotee is elevated to the spiritual order and purified from material contamination. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9:32. Would you like to sing that verse, Kunti? Oh, okay. Mam hi partavya pasritja yepi su papayo navaha striyo vaishas tata sudras tepi yanti param gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, although they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, as well as Sudras, workers, can approach the supreme destination. Nija griha vita britya pancha putra sane atmasamar pulan amitamara charane. Appreciating Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's favor, Bhavananda Roy also said, along with my home, riches, servants, and 5 sons, I surrender myself at your lotus feet. Purport. This is the process of surrender, as Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings. Manasa deha geha yo kichu mora arpilun toya pade nanda kishore, from the Sharanagati. When one surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord, he does so with everything in his possession, his house, his body, his mind, and whatever else he possesses. If there is any obstruction to the surrendering process, one should immediately give it up without attachment. If one can surrender with all his family members, there is no need to take sannyas. However, if the surrendering process is hampered by so-called family members, one should immediately give them up to complete the surrendering process. So we'll stop there. If anyone has any comments, questions, anything. So we stopped on text 55 for next week's reader. Madhya-lila chapter 10, the last verse we read was text 55. Anyone would like to say something?
You said that they used to eat rasgullas and Prabhupada used to touch them on their head. Would they take bath after?
They had to. Okay, so our little Vaishnavi asked a question. So when Prabhupada would touch them with the rasgullas on their heads, did they have to take a bath? We had to give a bath to all of them because they were covered in rasgulla juice. So that's a very good question because we had to shower them all down. I think they went outside and they turned the hose on and they just gave, because it's so hot in Dallas, they sprayed them all down, just, covered in rasgulla juice. And Srila Prabhupada really enjoyed giving prasadam to the devotees. And he really enjoyed, touching their head with rasgulla juice.
A lot of times I hear the word Prabhu used when devotees either forget someone else's name or they're angry about something. Like if I go and one time I queue jumped in the prasadam room and somebody said, Prabhu, there's a line. Or, Prabhu is used like that. And sometimes they can't remember somebody's name. So is Prabhu we can use it a lot of different ways, or is it restricted?
It's all about the heart, the condition of the heart. Prabhupada says that the material world is here because we're all envious. Prabhupada says that the material world is a place for people who are envious, and the whole world is full of envy. So we're always struggling with anger. Krishna consciousness, we're learning anger management because it's a real factor. And we have to, read the Bhagavad Gita and get clues about what to do. So I've told this story before, but I want to tell you about, I was on Sankirtan one day, and I had a Pakawala Class 1 anger management course, because at this time, Karna and I, we were distributing albums. Somehow we were doing record albums because we were collecting money for the Toronto Temple, for Mayapur Temple, so we were collectors. And if a person was really interested, we would give them a book. But records it was. So we were sitting at a concert, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and she was in the driver's seat, I was in the passenger seat, and we had tons of records. So this one guy comes to the car, we had our windows rolled down, and he was a very good-looking person. He was very clean. He was dressed like a hippie. He had long hair, and he came up, and I smiled at him, and I said, hey, would you like a record album? I said, they've got some great songs on here, Big Maya. And the guy looks at me, and he says, why don't you just go get a job? How can you live selling records? This is terrible. And so when he said that, I was so crushed because, I was thinking Mayapur, Toronto Temple, I'm collecting for them. I felt proud of myself for doing a service that I felt was important. So all of a sudden, this big ball of fire was in my stomach. This big, huge ball of fire, and it was coming up, but it was moving slow motion. It was moving in slow motion. It was just like rising in my gut. And I thought, oh no, Krishna, help me, Krishna. Because I realized I was going to get angry, but devotees can't get angry and yell at the people, because they're the praja. And they must be protected and served. Yes, but they are ignorant. Kunti Devi is saying that they're ignorant. So here's this guy being very puffed up because he was thinking that, he could instruct this little pipsqueak, to get a job, etc. When I already had the best job, I was serving Prabhupada. etc., trying to collect Lakshmi. So then he kept going. The guy kept on throwing these insults, saying, yeah, you Hare Krishnas are really taking advantage of the society, etc., etc. So then the burning fireball was coming up, up, up. It was getting closer to my throat, and I thought, if it hits my throat, I'm finished. I'm going to have to, you know. So then I kept calling to Lord Chaitanya. I kept calling to Krishna. It stopped. The anger stopped. And so Karna looks at him and she says, don't let that guy bother you. He's just an ignorant, stupid person to talk like that. So I got an anger management course. Thank you, Haribo. Haribo. Happy Sunday. Have a wonderful breakfast. We'll see you at the Sunday feast. Jai. Jai. Thank you, Kunti. Yes. What? Gadadhar Pandit is also Krishna Baba because he's in the mood of Radharani.
Krishna with off secret.
She's in the mood of Radharani.
So how?
So yeah. So Srivas Thakur, I'll have to research that. I don't know if he's Vishnu Thakur. I'll have to research it. I can research it and get back to you. But thank you. Your kids have the best questions. Thank you so much for reading. That was very kind. He's a good boy. Haribol Vaideni, Hare Krishna.
सनातन रघुजुगौ श्री विचारणै कल्पना सद्धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणं त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरणं करो विचारणै कल्पना सद्धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणं त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरणं धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणं त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरणं चैतन्य कृपापर लोकानां हितकारिणं त्रिभुवने मन्नं